Good afternoon. It is Saturday, January 8th, 2022, about 2:30 in the afternoon here in Sarasota, Florida. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, I was down with the first time I've been sick in over 5 years. Last time I was sick, I remember exactly what the circumstances were. It was in October of 2016. I got sick on the road during a work trip in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was horrendous. Getting sick at an Ironman event and trying to push through and ultimately not being able to push through, flying home with an earache, hadn't had an earache since I was a kid. And I remember getting home and having to go to the clinic down the road because I had another road trip coming up and I didn't have the time to just let my body do its thing. So this time I opted to let my body do its thing. And I am still not at 100%. I was saying I was at about 80%. I don't even think I'm at 80%, not relative to my normal energy level. Compared to my normal energy level, I am still very, very slow moving, very low energy. And I still have some congestion, really, really low grade congestion. But that is still very much present and has been sort of plateauing at this current place for days now. So I'm not feeling worse, but I'm not feeling tons better in the past 4 or 5 days. I just kind of feel like I'm plateauing at this, I just not me, just definitely not me. I am not, I don't buy into and feed the mainstream narrative of the health situation going on. I am not feeding that. So I would never even considered taking a test and going down that, not even for one freaking second. I don't know what I had because I do believe that whatever it is that exists, it was created in a lab and it was created with a purpose and as part of a much bigger agenda. And I'm just not interested in talking unless I'm talking with an audience or with somebody, that can see and is willing to acknowledge there is a much bigger picture, much bigger backdrop to the health situation. But that was even weird because anybody, and I don't have a big circle right now, but anybody that you tell you're sick, and it's just, people are losing their minds out there. They're losing their minds. From moment one, I thought I had just a cold, I'm pretty certain I had strep throat because for about 4 days, I could barely swallow. I was gargling with warm salt water. I was vitamin C like crazy and vitamin D and just totally, colloidal silver, oregano oil, just, bombarding my system with, to try to get my immune system back up. But my throat was like my worst symptom. And for 4 days, it was extremely painful to swallow. And that kind of takes me to addressing the beyond physical elements of the illness. This was a journey. This past 2 weeks was a journey. And I don't think it was a coincidence that I was smack dab in the middle of my Giving Myself Voice series when I get walloped with this illness, and the worst symptoms and the worst experience of the whole thing thus far has been with my throat chakra. Day 13 was the last recording I did of Giving Myself Voice. And then it was like, the dark energies of, around kind of saying, oh yeah, you think you're going to break through? You think you're actually going to, break through this time, huh? Well, we're going to throw everything at you. There's an element of that I felt. It had so many layers. And it was a real journey to just no caffeine for a week, no weed for a week, barely any eating for a week, a ton of sleep. So I was like in and out of my body. It felt like I was on a mushroom trip without being on mushrooms, to be honest with you. And I've never done ayahuasca, but it sort of felt like, when I've spoken with friends that I know who have done ayahuasca, it had elements of an ayahuasca journey in it, just because it was just flirting in between worlds. And there were times where nothing felt real, and I felt like I was just floating in a land in another place, and time. And then when I started to come back physically and feel a little bit better physically, I was overwrought with emotion, like unbelievably down, depressed, crying, like overwhelmed a week ago at this time with emotion. Couldn't get out of bed, not so much because my physical, like I was feeling any, that sick anymore, but emotionally, I was just bombarded, and had to really work through what that was mirroring back to me, what perhaps I was tapping into at the collective level beyond my individual story and my individual world, and individual things facing me right now in my here and now. And yeah, it literally, I don't remember ever having an illness like this, but that's because I really get sick every like 5 or 6 years. Like I just don't get sick. And if and when I do get sick, it's maybe for a couple of days. Like I don't go down for the count. This thing had me down for the count. And it's just in like I said, on multiple levels, in multiple ways, and really just kind of not trying to fight it. And really, I didn't have the energy to resist or fight it all that much, and just kind of be like, all right, here we go. Clearly what I had in store, which was not to get sick and derailed for 14 days, but and I was feeling so strong. I was feeling this transmutation going on within me as part of my series. I entered in the vision I had for that little piece of body of work, if you will, giving myself voice and doing 28 videos in 28 days. There were some deep intentions and purposes with that. And what I was looking to have it serve for me was happening. And then it was like, just as soon as I was really gaining momentum and feeling this energy began to circle and move up within me in a new way, in an unprecedented way. It was like, bam, you are not going up yet, and it was like, okay, we're going to throw more at you, because in so many ways here, I'm breaking through lifelong patterns that have not served me. They may have served me for a short period of time, way back in my life, decades ago, but the most damaging, limiting, self-imposed patterns and behaviors and habits that I have been consciously working to break through for now a decade they have not served me in a very long time. But because they go back so long, they're so deeply rooted and ingrained. So when I look at it and examine it from that perspective, it makes sense to me that if and when I was ever going to break through in this life, it was going to take, an unprecedented momentum of energy to really, and really unprecedented awareness. Because each time I feel like I've been at this precipice point multiple times in the past 5 years, let's say, and then I shoot myself in the foot, or I really believe I'm going down, I'm at the fork in the road. I've always gone this way. I'm going this way. I know where this leads. This is not where I want to go. I'm going this way, and truly believing that I am going this way, only to find out that I still hadn't got at the root of what was really causing me to go this way. So it was like thinking I had gotten to the root, I was really choosing here, but I really wasn't choosing here, I was choosing this way because of the deeper foundational, energetic foundations that are at the root of making certain choices. So anyway, I'm sort of pushing through today to do a video. Don't even know if I'll release this because like I said, I am still far from my normal. And also one of the biggest things that I've come to the decision point of as a result of going through this illness is that I must leave the farm. I must leave the farm. And I'm not going to go further on that tangent in this video, but rest assured that is not it. That is a place of deep meaning, multiple layers, been there in some capacity a very long time. It's just not an easy, I've tried to leave. It's just not an easy place in any way, shape, or form, and nothing relating to it is simple for me. Most certainly cutting ties with it. And I have to, like dot period. I cannot be associated with it where it is right now. I cannot. It is like torture for my personality. It's torture. And I knew this and thought I had learned the lesson, and I walked away. My last day was the equinox in 2019. But then when all this pandemic bullshit hit and I lost all my event work and the farm, there were a lot of reasons I went back. But I've now been back for almost 2 years, and my heart has not been in it really at all. I went back because my first choice was taken from me as a result of everything of the world shutting down. So I was left with a very distant choice in as compared to my top choice and what my 2020 was set for. I had to settle for something that I had already realized and decided was not a good place for me. But I don't have, if I were going to title this, even though I haven't really gone into great detail, one of the top themes running through me today has just been opportunity, providing opportunity. What do I want to do more than anything when my world of work finally begins to take off? And with any excess that I get, it is to provide. What do I want to do with that at the most general level is to be what I wish I would have had over the past 10 years on my awakening, spiritual awakening journey, and my journey separating myself from the matrix and learning the greater truths and choosing the highest timeline for myself and creating the best reality for myself and those around me. I wish I would have had more than anything. What could have made this leaps and bounds easier was just having opportunity. And depending on what person, work environment, place gave me this opportunity, I would be able to tell them specifically what they could provide that I needed, that I perceived myself to need to help further any number of projects and efforts I had going on in my world. And so it just, this word and this theme and this topic of opportunity is floating around everywhere around me right now. And so even though I may not go into much more about that in this video, as I try to step back into my work, as I begin to formulate a new plan, as the decision to leave the farm is now less than a week old. And so I got to come up with and formulate a new plan for 2022 quickly, relatively, just because for me, I'm constantly, I like to arrange my life in year segments. And when I was traveling and working for Ironman, that used to provide my annual framework, because by January of any year, I knew what my travel schedule was and where I was going for the next 12 months. And it was fantastic because it provided the biggest most outward framework of my world in that year. And in the past couple of years, it's been the farm, and that is just no way, in no way does that serve me or help me. I'm just drained, and the flow there is just one direction, and it's not, I don't get anything back. And so I have to leave. And that means I need to formulate a new plan here for 2022. And ideally, I would have that already. I'd be working that plan from the moment that 2022 started. And clearly, none of this is playing out that way. And that's okay. But now that I've got these realizations and these crystallizations, it's time to, really, it won't take me long to formulate said new plan. And so anyhow, again, I don't know that I'll release this. I just wanted to get the energy flowing again, really get the imagination and visualization going again, and trying to pick up where I left off in the Giving Myself a Voice series. But that may be challenging for me to do because so much transpired the past 2 weeks. So, the momentum I had and what was building and had been building upon the previous day, that's completely, that flow's completely cut off. So I have to, just see where that series is going to go, although my intention is to return to it sooner rather than later. So anyhow, that's a little update of where I disappeared to since Christmas Day. And like I said, I am definitely not back to the normal range of energy or mindset. I'm still kind of battling in some of the lower, darker energies, frequencies, shadow work, and having some real, like what I call come to Jesus meetings with myself, where I just have to be brutally honest with, what is my reality right now? How do I feel about it? I have a very bad habit, as I've shared before, with staying with things based on what their potential down the linear timeline is, and weighting that potential far more than the weight of giving the situation the weight based on what it is in the now moment. Hugely, deeply rooted pattern that I've got to learn when to let go and to adjust that balance. I need to have more weight in a decision making to stay with something and to not let it go. I need to be weighing and assessing what it is in the now, and weighing that always more than what it could be. If all else is equal, this has to be given that 51% consideration to the 49% consideration of the potentiality, simply because the now is always only where we are, is the now. And so I stick with things and hold on to things for far longer than where it just becomes almost masochist. And I'm not trying to be a martyr. I'm not trying to self-sacrifice, but that is what ends up happening, because it's so clear that it's not going to be able to be and reach this potential for one reason or another. Generally, it's multiple reasons. And yet I don't want to give up. I don't want to let go. I don't want to take my energy from this job or event or group or relationship or fill in the blank. So that, I'm in that in a huge way. And it feels good to have caught it, albeit probably, and it's one thing to be honest and call it out for what it is. And then the next layer is identifying the things that I'm clearly still hesitant through reasons of fear of why I wouldn't leave it right away. Practicality, like in this case, I don't have another job like that is going to be able to replace, at least not immediately, and that has associated uncomfortableness, with it. Not so much fear, but like I said, part of when I go through a cycle like this, it's get real with it, get real with myself time. And it's like, well, and only you can call bullshit on yourself, really, at the highest levels. Only you really know what is your motivation or inspiration for a particular choice. Only you can be really real about the nuanced way that you experience, things. In this case, so I had to face some fears, and I had to get real and honest about what aspects and things I'm still afraid of why I would hesitate, any longer than I need to do right by me and do right by them there before leaving. Obviously, as much as I wanted to quit last week, I mean, that's just rash, and it's just not the proper way to handle it. There's no need to quit last week. I can formulate my new plan and give plenty of notice there, and not totally screw myself by having to dip into my savings immediately. That's just not wise, and it's not necessary, not quite. But like I said, I'm assessing, okay, no later than July 1 at the new fiscal year, more likely in around April is when I would like to depart, or at a bare minimum, absolute latest that I notify him that I'm leaving on July 1. So anyway, these are not small changes in my world. And like I said, just really trying to go with the flow, and the flow has been slowed and derailed and redirected in the past couple of weeks, with the main impetus being the illness. But the illness has so many layers, the illness has a lot of layers. Part pushing through bullshit at the farm when I'm not happy. So if I'm not at ease within myself, which I have not been for 2 years, it's just a matter of time before this ease will manifest itself through your physical body, through my physical body. The experience in Miami, I don't regret it, but and I had much better control over my expectations, but I was still disheartened and let down by not being surprised, but just the experience of what I pertained, or what I assessed to be, I just think it's inefficient currently. The amount of, well, I won't go off on that tangent. I was disheartened and just a little disappointed, despite trying to have no expectation of what it was. Again, when I'm being real with myself, it's like, okay, you tried not to have you tried to have zero expectation, but you still were holding on to a little bit of hope. And, pretty much what you thought would happen, happened. And in this case, it meant releasing those people. They're not of your frequency, and they're not going to be, I'm ready to collaborate. I'm ready to go out into our reality and play with others who are, really doing the same type of work that I am. And I'm just eager and impatient, because when I first set out, I naively believed it would all come together in a year, and I'm 9+ years in now. And so it's been, I feel like my patience, I've been patient. I've had no choice but to be patient, and I'm still having to be patient. So what I'm intending more than anything is to reassemble the pieces of my life puzzle in such a way where I am going to draw in what I'm desiring, and some fun, collaborative, co-creative projects and things in my world of work this year, and sooner rather than later. So more to come. And I hope everybody had a great new year, and that 2022 is off to a better start for all of you. Better than my 2022 has been launched, but it may not have been through much, might have been uncomfortable and not super fun, but some pretty great things I already feel are going to result from this rocky start to the new calendar year. So talk again tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day.